Venezuela just became one of the most important countries in America's backyard, and most people don't realize why. We're talking about oil, gold, and minerals that power phones, cars, and clean energy. But here's what the everyday person needs to understand. This isn't really about politics. It's about resources. It's about supply chains. And it's about how money moves when countries decide they can't afford to rely on anyone else anymore. Because while the headlines feel chaotic, the incentives behind them are actually very clear. What's good, y'all? It's Courtney. Welcome to Investing Uncomplicated, helping everyday investors make their money and the market make sense. Look, before we get into oil, minerals, and companies, we need to ground this conversation in reality because this isn't abstract. When people hear about the United States moving into Venezuela, it doesn't land the same way for everyone. Some people feel hurt because intervention brings up long histories of exploitation. Some feel oppressed because sovereignty feels taken away. Some feel relieved because instability and hardship have lasted way too long. Some feel deceived because they don't trust the stated reasons. And others feel uneasy because power shifts make the world feel less predictable. All of these reactions can exist at the same time. This video isn't here to tell anyone how to feel. So historically, the US has intervened in countries that are resource rich or strategically important. Venezuela fits that pattern. Whether someone sees that as protection or overreach depends heavily on history, identity, and lived experience. Legally, intervention is debated. Morally, there is no single conclusion, but here's the part that matters beyond Venezuela. When a major power moves to secure resources, the world doesn't just react to what happens, it reacts to what the move signals. It tells other countries what is now considered national security instead of normal trade. Venezuela isn't just about oil, it's a signal. Let's talk about Taiwan for a moment, because this is where people often get lost. China believes Taiwan belongs to China. Taiwan operates its own country with its own government, military, and economy. This agreement goes back to a civil war in the 40s. It was never fully resolved. For decades, the world avoided forcing the issue. And the reason Taiwan matters today isn't politics, it's chips. Taiwan produces the majority of the world's most advanced semiconductors. You know, the tiny components that power smartphones, cars, AI, medical equipment, and weapons. No chips means no modern economy. So when the US signals that securing oil and minerals close to home is now priority, China pays attention. Not because war is guaranteed, but because the rules around resource security may be changing, y'all. So this same logic explains why Greenland has entered the conversation. Greenland is technically controlled by Denmark. Though Greenland governs itself locally, for years it barely mattered. Now it does. See, Greenland holds rare earth minerals, uranium, and untapped energy resources. And as Arctic ice melts, those resources are becoming easier to access. During his presidency, Donald Trump openly floated the idea of the US acquiring Greenland or supporting independence by offering Greenland citizens between $10,000 to $100,000 each. That wasn't random. It was about locking down future resources and preventing rivals from gaining influence. Different place, same incentive. Acknowledging the human impact matters, but this channel exists to help everyday people understand how money moves when the world shifts. If investing feels confusing, it's not because you're behind, it's because no one ever explained it simply. Most people think investing is only for experts, rich people, or people who have everything figured out. And that's a myth. I host a free beginner investing class every Thursday and Sunday. In these classes, I break investing down in plain language. We dispel the myths, We build confidence, and I show you exactly what I look for in a stock. You don't need to be perfect to start investing. You just need clarity. And by the end of this class, most people realize they've been closer to investing than they thought. No pressure, no hype, no day trading, just the basics you actually need to start. If you've been waiting to invest because you didn't feel ready, this is for you. Register for the next free class using the link and take your first confident step into investing. You don't need permission to build wealth. You just need understanding. Markets don't respond to emotion. They respond to incentives, access, and risk. And right now, Venezuela is back in focus because of what sits underneath the ground. So with the context respected, let's talk about the resources and why Wall Street is already positioning. Venezuela holds roughly 303 billion barrels of proven oil reserves. It's the most on Earth. At about $70 a barrel, that represents over $21 trillion in value. Listen, that's roughly the size of the entire US economy for a year. But this isn't easy oil. See, most of it is heavy crude, which means that it's thick and it's expensive to extract, difficult to refine. You need advanced drilling technology, specialized refineries, and massive capital to turn it into cash. Venezuela has the oil, the US has the technology. That's why increased US influence immediately reopens the door for American energy companies. Companies positioned here include Chevron and Valero. Venezuela also holds massive gold deposits, especially in the Orinoco mining arc. This region covers about 12% of the country and is one of the most mineral-rich zones on Earth. With gold near record highs, this represents hundreds of billions of dollars in potential value if developed under stable conditions. Some companies had mines seized years ago. Any restoration of property rights could mean asset recovery or major settlement. Venezuela holds deposits of coltan. This is a mineral that's essential for your smartphone, your laptop, your EV, and military technology. No coltan means no modern tech. Right now, the US relies heavily on foreign supplies for this material. So a stable Venezuela creates a Western Hemisphere supply, shorter shipping routes, fewer choke points, and less geopolitical risk. So southern Venezuela sits on the Guyana Shield. It's one of the most resource-rich geological formations on Earth. Rare earth elements are critical for electric vehicles, wind turbines, and advanced defense systems. China currently controls the majority of the global rare earth supply. So developing supply closer to home, it reduces strategic dependence on China. That's not a political statement, it's a supply chain statement. Venezuela also has deposits of uranium and thorium. So uranium, it already powers a significant portion of US electricity and the naval fleet. Thorium, it supports next generation nuclear systems that are smaller, safer, and faster to deploy. As energy security becomes more important, these materials become more valuable. So finally, let's talk a little bit about infrastructure. Look, Venezuela's roads, pipelines, power systems, their wells, they're all severely degraded. Rebuilding them will require over $100 billion. Historically, the most consistent money isn't made digging for resources. It's made selling the tools. So banks, engineering firms, construction companies, energy services, these are all of the companies that are positioned to benefit. When countries start competing quietly over resources, prices don't stay stable. This shows up as higher energy costs, more expensive electronics, more volatile markets. For investors, it means money flows toward real assets like energy, infrastructure, materials. Markets don't wait for consensus. Capital moves as soon as the incentives change. Guys, this video wasn't about defending intervention. It wasn't about condemning it either. These conversations matter, but they aren't investment decisions. Markets move before history finishes debating. The legality, may be argued, the morality, it may be debated, but the incentive is clear. Venezuela isn't a story by itself, it's a signal. And investors don't need certainty to pay attention. They need to understand incentives. If you want to follow up on how to build a watch list around geopolitical shifts, let me know. Because the goal isn't to predict the future, it's to understand it. Look, be sure to subscribe to Investing Uncomplicated, turn on your notifications, share this video with somebody you love.